Hello again, and thank you guys for checking in with us on the Rolling with My Special Friends podcast. Mr. Woody is here with us today. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
I want to tell everybody out there, you're going to get to hear an amazing story about a man that got ran over by a train. He's a head basketball coach. He's founded Cast Ministries and many, many other things that we want to learn about today in our podcast. But just, to get us right into it, we just want to start from the basics and find out about Woody and how he grew up and the things he enjoyed in his life. So tell us about growing up in your childhood.
Okay. I grew up in Auburn, Alabama. My parents had a place up on Lake Martin that we spent most of the weekends at. So we basically spent a lot of time swimming and water skiing and I guess the one thing I was going to say that we didn't do much is it didn't go to church much. So that kind of leads into my next part when as I got older, as a teenager, we got into drinking some and all that. So that's will lead into the train story if you're ready for me to talk about that.
Well, and yeah, we're going to get to that, but I want to find out, like when you said this led you into drinking, in high school, there's a lot of kids out there that do that type of thing in a teenage years. Do you have any kind of advice for anybody listening of some of these kids that what could help them not go down that road?
Well, I do believe now that, like I said, you got to make Christ a priority. Church, like I said, it may seem like these days everybody's getting away from it more, but like I said, a good solid foundation on what you believe, it can help you to keep from making those wrong choices in life that I did.
So for parents out there listening, that's a great advice to me, is you get in that word, because it's always going to lead you in the right direction and let you know where to keep your child out of. Now, by taking those steps, and obviously we're everybody's on the edge of their seat kind of trying to listen to about getting run over by a train. Lead us from high school and our bad decisions into our group that we used to hang out with. Tell us what led up to the train before you tell us about the train. Like what were the steps?
Well, like I said, I came from a good family, and like I said, my parents, I've never seen either one of them drunk before, so it's not like I grew up in a family that used a lot of alcohol, but I was around it a lot, and it just seemed like the natural thing to do as I got older to start drinking, and anyways, me and my friends, I guess we did that, and first time I got in trouble, I guess, with it major was I got arrested one time in high school for a DUI. I spent one night in jail and had to go 3 months without a license. And I did a little better after that, but then once I graduated and moved out of the house, moved in with some other guys that were all older than me, and of course they were all 21 or older, so it made it easy for me to have access to alcohol. And the problem wasn't so much that I just felt like I had to drink, but when we did drink, we were usually trying to party or things. So it led to a lot of binge drinking, which to me is probably one of the most dangerous things for young kids to get into. And you're just consuming a lot of alcohol in a short amount of time. Right.
Mm-hmm. Now, walk us down this path. What was I'm assuming this train accident happened at night?
It did. It was back August 5th, 1989. I'd been working that morning. I wasn't in school that summer at Auburn University. I'd taken the summer off, but I'd been working for my parents, and a good hot August day, and just tired and wanted to go out in everything, but like I said, my friends wanted to go to a party. I really didn't feel like going, but since I was so tired, instead of drinking beer like we normally did, I decided to get some Jack Daniels and had mixed drinks, and of course wound up playing drinking games and things like that. And the next thing I know, had way too much, way too fast. Decided to leave the party. I knew I didn't need to drive, so I just snuck out the back door. I didn't even tell my friends where I was going, and I just started walking on the tracks because the place I was living at the time was right off of the railroad tracks, and made it probably about a mile. Must have tripped, fell down, and just sat there to regain my composure, but instead of getting back up, I just passed out. Train came through close to midnight, I guess, and they were going kind of slow that night, but they tried to stop, and I wound up under the second engine of the train. I don't remember getting hit, but I do remember afterwards, talking with the paramedics, them getting me out from under the train, and putting me in the ambulance and things of that nature.
My goodness. I mean, that's just the thought of it is amazing that kind of thing can happen. And now give us the whole spiel on the traumatic, like what all injuries came from it.
Well, apparently I sat up at the last second because on my left shoulder right here on the ball of the arm got broken. I had a broken jaw on this side, and then both my feet were actually trapped under the wheel of the second engine, so they actually had to back the train up after separating the cars to get me out from under there. And I know that because I actually go to church with one of the paramedics now, and he a couple years ago he was telling me about the story, and I didn't realize that part of it. But like I said, God was good to me even before I knew He was pulling for me on that side.
My goodness! Now that's so. We just found out all of our injuries. We went to the hospital. Were there any times in this part of what I'd call recovery, trying to get healthy? I know you and I had talked once before, and you said Mom and Dad was absolutely wonderful as a family to be able to set up a bed in their house and allow you to, them to take care of you because it was a long road recovery.
Yes, they took out the dining room table, put in a hospital bed in the dining room there, and basically they took care of me. I had my arm propped up like this. My mouth was wired shut, and both legs were out straight, trying to regrow skin down there from where the doctor tried to save as much as he could. Mm-hmm. So, the first 6 weeks, I finally got the shoulder down and the jaws unwired, but it was still up till probably November of '89 before I was able to heal up completely, and where they tried to fit me with some artificial legs. And at that point we realized that they had to take out the heel and the rest of the ankle bones. So I went back in February of 1990 at Atlanta and Emory and had a revision surgery there, which left me more as a bilateral Symes amputee. And from there, like I said, we went on pretty good from there.
Now, for most of us out here listening, especially myself, you're going to have to back up just one little bit and tell me what a bilateral amputee. Mm-hmm. Explain that to me. Bilateral
just means it's both sides.
Okay.
So instead of a single leg, and then below a typical amputation is either going to be above knee, below knee, or if you're full length down to the your ankles, they call that more of a Symes amputation.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah. Then. And although I found out later when I had another revision to go to a different procedure that the doctor told me that it wasn't a true Symes. It got me through for about 15 years of good active lifestyle, and until I basically wore it out and had to go back and get it revised again.
Wow. So now in that process of all those things going on, was there ever any anxiety, depression, anything that you felt bad about what was going on, or you just kind of moved on and accepted it?
I was very fortunate that I did not go through depression. Like I said, it was really confusing as a 20-year-old or 21-year-old, I guess, right there. But I was 20 when I got hit, fixing to turn 21. And, you just don't know how to comprehend it when they're like, you don't really have your feet anymore. That the night of being under the train, that's what the paramedics kept telling me is you don't really have your feet anymore. You just don't know how to respond to that.
Right.
And so I think I didn't really understand what was going to happen after that. But like I said, I'm in the hospital. One time my mom came back in and she said, well, I just talked to the doctor, and he said that you should be able to wear prosthetics. And I was like, oh, well, I hadn't even thought about prosthetics, So for me, that was better than what I was anticipating. So I think that kept me from being more depressed, and then just having a good family structure and working in a family business and, all that. I was able to kind of really get back to a normal lifestyle even before I was completely healed.
Right. Well, and that's big in itself to be able, like you said, to get that momentum forward, to make yourself understand that things are going to be better than you anticipate. Because a lot of times in injuries, that's what people let them get down, is you start looking at the bad side, but you forget about all the good things that could go with it, to help out.
Well, the best thing that happened after that, though, was I met my wife. Like I said, so I didn't even know her until after my accident, but I was back out on living with some roommates on my own after healing up, and got introduced to her, and like I said, so
that changed the world, didn't it?
It did. And as far as keeping you straight, that a good woman will do that for you.
Oh, sure, yeah. I tell people all the time that they usually say that's your better half. That's my better 3/4 because
Yeah. Well, I think I realized that the main reason I used to binge drink more was because I was more on the bashful side and shy. Right. And like I said, if I was going to talk to somebody or do whatever, I felt like I had to have a little help. But
now tell me, we're coming from injury now, coming out into getting into the, I guess what I call a plan set in place. Every time we talk, you talk about this Cast Ministries that you founded, and you get really excited when you tell me about that. So tell everybody listening, what is Cast Ministries?
Okay. Well, Cast Ministries is a Christian amputee support team, although we're kind of in the process of changing that over to Christian adaptive support team to broaden our spectrum a little bit. But as I mentioned earlier, I had to have a revision surgery, and that was 2004 and 5. Like I said, we had already had a lot of kids by then and were very active, and I needed to do something so I could stay active. And it was during that time that we had a lot of downtime and was able to really just get into our, I'm sorry, I need to back up again. I gave my life to Christ in 2000. That it was after that when, instead of just living for myself and going through life, I felt more that he was leading me to do something better. And it was during that time that I felt like God wanted me to start up a support group, and he wanted it to be Christian based. So we started that up. We just did events mainly. We did run, walk, and roll, which was a 5K and a health fair. We included wheelchair athletes and things like that in it. We got into water skiing. We called it Amputees. We'd go out and for about 10 years, we'd go to Columbus, Ohio, and we'd pull, amputees and other people with disabilities water skiing up there. Joe Ray out of Birmingham with Adaptive Aquatics, he kind of got me started on that, and we were able to kind of go off on our own a little bit with the help of the ski clubs. We did it in Montgomery for a while, and now we've transitioned over. I'd started playing wheelchair basketball through Auburn University, and then once Auburn University became more of a collegiate team, we had to go and start up our own wheelchair basketball team. So that's where we're kind of transitioned from just being catering more to amputees to more wheelchair athletes.
All right, so now you brought it up, and we were going to get into this in a little bit, but I want to know, like, when you got into trying to form Auburn's basketball team, how did that come about? Was that just a thought of yours or somebody's?
No, it was a friend of mine, Tracy Donald, worked over at the Office of Accessibility at Auburn University, and him and Nathan Waters both were doing that. They had gotten in touch with Jared Rim, who was a wheelchair athlete, and so when they approached me, it was, hey, we're starting a wheelchair basketball team at Auburn University. Would you like to play? And I'm like, well, I don't even use a wheelchair. And they're like, well, you don't have to. You have a permanent disability of, the lower limb. And so, anyways, I was like, sure, I'll come play. And so we went over, and there was about 5 or 6 of us on that first Auburn team back in 2010, and we lost pretty much every game that year. I think we might have won one, but I kind of think the other team was just letting us play that year, that day. But anyways, we struggled through it. After the first 2 years, I think we finally, our third year, we beat somebody that we weren't supposed to, and after that, we started looking up a little. Bounced around from going to collegiate to back down to D3 again, and eventually, like I said, it was a great opportunity. I mean, you talk about amazing things that God does, and I was actually able to play 3 years of intercollegiate wheelchair basketball, even though I wasn't a student, because of the transition phase that they have, where they allow community players to play. So to me, I mean, I'm a huge Auburn fan, and just that was a dream come true for me to get to represent Auburn. And then this past year, like I said, we were asked to kind of separate just a little bit so that we were not confusing with the logo and the name and the colors and all that. So we decided, since we were already operating that last couple years under Cast Ministries, we decided to change over to the Cast Iron Skillets, which is our current team.
Okay. Now, for everybody out there listening, we've kind of touched on the basketball and how you got Auburn's team started. Tell me, for the ones that are listening out there that may possibly be coming up into this world, what qualifies them to play wheelchair basketball?
Okay. It could be a lot of different things, but it's mainly a permanent disability of the lower limbs, I would guess. It could be paralysis, it could be amputation, it could be some other form, spina bifida, but a lot of different things can qualify you as that. But if you have to use a wheelchair on a daily basis, or if you're wearing some sort of prosthetic or orthopedic devices or something like that, then chances are you would be eligible.
Qualify. Okay.
Yes.
So that's what I was trying to get, is the families that are out there listening that may have a kid that's coming up, fixing to get into the high school area, the college area. So anything amputee wise or any other lower injury you're talking about, they would qualify for that.
Yes, sir.
Now, is there an age range?
Not really.
Because I know you said that older people play sometimes.
I was 41 years old when I started playing.
Well, and that's what I was about to say. Can I go back to college now, and could I play, I guess?
As far as you could, if you wanted, like I said, the collegiate teams, there's only a small number. It's less than 10. I can't quite remember. It fluctuates from year to year, but they operate as, college athletes. They practice, at least 5 days a week, sometimes 2 or 3 hours a day, and then they do weight training and everything else. So they get real competitive there. But there's different levels too. There's the D3, which is your beginner level, and that's where most people come in is at the D3 level, learn how to play, and then from there they can go up to collegiate, intercollegiate, or either D2 or D1 even. D1, you have a lot of your Paralympians and people like that have played competing there.
Now, I know there's a national championship level. Is that all major universities, or are we hearing a lot of small universities in that too?
There's a mixture. There's some of your traditional big names like Alabama, Auburn, teams like that that you hear is for Missouri, that are mixed in with the intercollegiate part. But then you also have your some smaller schools that I wasn't as familiar with, but are the powerhouses in wheelchair basketball. Like you got a Whitewater, Wisconsin, Edinboro, just a Southwest Minnesota State, I believe. So right. There's a lot of teams that you may not be as familiar with, but as far as wheelchair basketball go, they've been around a while. Auburn's one of the newer teams.
Right. So now in this collegiate world, does this, like you said, Whitewater, Wisconsin, for people out there listening, does it work the same way as, say, any other sport in college? Would those Whitewater, Wisconsin go out there and recruit you to come to there to play ball?
Yes, they do. And like I said, Auburn University, when I first started, we were mainly made up of community players, local and everything. But now Rob Taylor at the university over there, he brings in recruits each year. So a lot of his recruits now are from different states. And like I said, it's a whole collegiate process, I guess.
Correct.
The way they do it, they may not necessarily be under the athletic department, but they do under the intercollegiate. They have their rules and regulations that they recruit and follow and develop players.
Okay, now let's break off from the collegiate side and get me into the skillets. Tell me, how do you get into that? If I'm out there listening, what do we do?
Well, if like I said, normally you go to the team that is most geographically located to you.
Okay.
So if you're in the Birmingham area, you're probably going to play for Lakeshore.
Okay.
If you're in Atlanta, you would probably go to Shepherd. If you're in the Auburn, Montgomery area, then like I said, you can come play with us. We're Cast Iron Skillets. We've got a base that we are going to call home. It's down in the Tallahassee area by Lake Martin, and but we practice right now in Montgomery at the St. Bede Catholic Church. So, so if anybody's interested, I'd be more than happy to bring you in and talk with you and help to get you started.
All right, so give us some, like we did on the collegiate side, give us some information that what qualifies me to be a skillet.
Okay. Well, like I said, if you have that disability that we talked about earlier, then you're qualified.
Okay.
Other than that, we just need to get you, signed up, registered. Of course, even before we do that, we'd probably just borrow a wheelchair, get you in a chair, let you push and try it out and everything. Yeah. But it is a competitive sport, So like I said, it is very physical and stuff. So that's why I think so many people love it, is because coming up is, like I said, I was older when I had my disability, but a lot of people that grow up with a disability, I mean, you might get left out of this sport or that sport or doing some things, but when the wheelchair basketball, that chair is a great equalizer. It makes the playing field level, regardless of your situation. They do have a classification system where they classify you according to your disability. So then they put a point system on it. So, like in D3, we can only have a total of 15 points on the floor at one time.
Okay.
With me being a double amp, I'm a 4.0. The highest you could be is a 4.5. If you got somebody that's maybe paralyzed from the waist down, they would be probably a 1.0 and stuff. So you have to have a mixture of the different classes to be able to fit in and have a legal lineup to fit under that 15.
Yeah, that's making more sense of what I'm trying to understand. So if there was a team full of amputees, that's not possible, right?
No. Like I said, and as a matter of fact, in the D3, a 3.5, a 4.0, and a 4.5, you can only have 2 of those players on the court at one time.
Wow.
So, like if we had, because we actually do have a decent amount of 4.0s and 4.5s on our team. So we are not able to just stick them all out there and go with a huge lineup. If we do, we would end up having to forfeit. We have had to play in the past sometimes with an illegal lineup just because we were low on numbers.
Right.
But when we are able to, when we filled that legal lineup out there, then you can compete and be eligible, like I said, to go all the way to the national. To get to nationals, usually have to be in the top 16. Like I said, our second year as a D3 team, we were still Auburn, and before we went to Cast Iron, we actually got invited, went in as a 7th seed, I believe, and we ended up winning the whole thing.
Wow!
Back in 2019.
That's pretty cool. They do rings and all for that.
Well, we did not get rings. We got T-shirts instead, but that was probably more on my fault on that, as I just wasn't sure. But we do have a nice big trophy, and we got the little medals to hang them from them and everything. So,
well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so now let's kind of transition everybody from we've got the basketball covered, and everybody knows what's going on there. Mm-hmm. Walk us into this family situation. We talked about earlier with what you grew up in, your family being able to take care of you there in the home, putting the bed in there and everything for you. I know, and you alluded to earlier, that you got a big family. Tell us, 6 kids. How in the world do you take care of 6 kids?
It was not easy. Like I said, my wife Holly, she, like I said, she has been wonderful and just supported me through whatever we've been through. It's amazing the things she's actually let me participate in.
Wow.
But we had 3 kids. We ended up fostering and adopting 3 kids that were from the same family, and anyways, our last one, he just graduated high school this past year, so we're actually empty nesters now. And
wow,
we got 4 grandkids and 1 more on the way, all grandsons right now. So life keeps us busy, and like I said, I'm just fortunate and blessed to be able to have that kind of family.
Wow. I mean, 6 kids, 4 grands. I mean, that plate's always full, sounds like.
It is.
I mean, I'm sure there's an event going on everywhere you could go to every day, huh?
There is. And like I said, I finally get to the point where I have to realize I have to start turning down some opportunities too. So.
Oh, yeah. Save a little time for yourself.
Yeah.
Well, now, also with that family, I think you and I had talked about it earlier in past conversations, that you now have come full circle where you're taking care of Dad. Tell us about that.
I've already told you about my parents. They put in the bed, and my dad built a ramp going up into an old van. It was a wooden ramp, and he would put it in and out and, get me in and out of there. And, at the time, and they took care of me and got me back on my feet. But back in, I guess it was 2006, I guess Daddy had a stroke, and he's lost his balance basically, and most of his speech. You can understand him, but it's not as easy. But since then, I guess after the first couple of years, I've been probably one of his caretakers for the most part. I go in the mornings on weekdays and usually get him up and help feed him and give him his bath, shave him, and get him ready and all that. So, like I said, he tells me a lot of times he appreciates what I do for him, but I just remember back and I appreciate what they did for me.
Right. That's pretty big in my book to see somebody come full circle and give back and this whole thing. Now, one of the things that we love to do on this podcast, and we really want to, get something out there for the audience that they don't get to hear everywhere else, is tell us a funny Woody story. Now, I've heard something about a kickball. Could you tell me about kickball?
Yeah, we refer to that as a great kickball accident of 2011, I believe. But,
okay.
But all it was me and my wife were working with a youth group at church one night, and the kids were out there playing kickball in the field, and anyways, we look over, and I got a ball rolling right at me. So of course I just haul off and kick the ball back to him, and while I'm watching the ball go, I see something flying through, and I realized my leg had came off, and so by the time it was about to hit the ground about 20 feet away from me, I realized that I didn't even have it on anymore, and so my stump ended up getting jammed in the ground and bruised up pretty good, but at the time I thought it was very funny, and all the kids were concerned. Like I said, it was before everybody had their cell phones out and stuff, so nobody actually got it on video, but it was actually very humorous. So
that sounds pretty funny. Yeah. Now, is there anything else out there that you want to tell us? Another funny story?
I guess the probably one of the funnier ones too was a lot of these are church related, but we had a deacons meeting one night, and we were in a little room, and they were just kind of coming in. They didn't tell everybody, and it was real quiet, and they would pull people out one at a time, and everybody's kind of wondering what was going on. But and then I kept noticing nobody was making eye contact with me when they came in the room and everything. But then finally one of the guys took me towards the end there, and when I went in, they were doing a foot washing, and so of course I had 2 artificial feet, and like I said, I didn't know whether to take my leg off or to leave it on, so I just took the shoe off and let them wash my artificial foot, and I made eye contact with one of my friends, and he was across the room, and we almost busted out laughing, and it was because we just found it funny. But wow, so it was kind of humorous.
Now that is kind of unique to hear that.
Yeah, because it was definitely not supposed to be a funny moment, but it was.
Wow. Now, our signature question that we love to use on our podcast for everybody that comes in here, when this whole thing is wrapped up and we get to the end of your story, and they write a book about Woody and tell everything, what do you hope people read in the book of Woody?
Oh, goodness. I guess if I had to say anything, it would be that, it doesn't matter what you've done in your life. If you got God on your side, all things are possible. And that's always been one of our motives. So I just hope that they just saw that I didn't say no because I was afraid to do something, but I just believed that it was possible through God.
Wow. I mean, it's not much more better said than that. That's pretty powerful for people to be able to know that God's out there and can handle everything for them. Now, before we wrap everything up, I want to get your information out there as well for people listening. Tell us, one, how to get in touch with Cast Iron Skillets.
Okay. Like I said, you can reach me personally at woody@castministries.org for email. Mm-hmm. You can call or text me at 334-332-8411. Or you can go on Facebook. We have a couple different pages that are active right now. There's the Cast Iron Skillets wheelchair basketball page. There is a Cast Ministries page and a Cast Life Center page. Probably either the Cast Ministries or the Skillets wheelchair basketball.
Now that's all Facebook, right?
On Facebook, yes.
Okay. Any other socials, the Instagrams, the Twitters?
I mean, I have you can find Woody Thornton under Instagram if you want to, but I don't have it set up for the other pages.
Cast Irons? Yeah. Okay. So that's the basic way to get a hold of you then is Facebook if we're trying to get involved with the Cast Iron Skillets.
And then, of course, just email or telephone either way.
Okay. And then the Cast Ministries, it has an official website for itself as well?
That website is not active right now because, like I said, we have been making a lot of transitions in what we used to do and where we're headed to. Okay. And it's just not up and running good. So so the email or the Facebook pages.
The reason I was asking is because you're going to have some people out there that are listening that may want to donate or give to Cast Ministries. Okay. And I'm just trying to get them a way to get that information out there. So the best to contact you then directly.
It is, and like I said, as far as that goes, the email is probably the better way. That way, I can communicate and give out mailing addresses or anything of that nature.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on today and telling us in your story, and hopefully you'll be able to come back with us one day and maybe send some of your cast iron guys over here and let them tell their stories.
Yeah, we would definitely do that. We've got some good stories in our group there. A lot of guys that would definitely be interested probably in coming in and sharing.
All right. Well, thank you very much, and thank you guys out there for listening.
Thank you.